Okay, the question is around notions of femininity or masculinity. And what I can say to that is that, uh, you know, I definitely went through my own process of figuring out and sorting out how my insides and my outsides matched up. Some of that changed depending on who I was partnered with, but for the most part, when I came out when I was 20, there weren't very many visuals necessarily, aside from, I was brought up by the gays in DC, and so on the heels of the AIDS epidemic, there were not a lot of lesbians around. A lot of the men had died. The ones who were still alive were, survivors. And so I grew up kind of the first generation in the shadow of the AIDS epidemic. And so in terms of the visuals that were available, there was a lot of visuals about activism. ACT UP was really big, and there were a lot of visuals around like the different protests that had happened. So in those spaces, I got to see what my elders looked like, but none of it matched up to me. So there was like theoretical language around this. And there was also a lot of theoretical language about what it meant to have hyperfemininity as a chosen gender, not something that was just kind of like passively received as a kind of from within a patriarchal construct. Because there are high femmes who, will fight that to the end. They're like, no one has told me how to dress. They're not victims of anything. So the gift of kind of growing up in the gay community has been that, I'm one of the last generations that kind of grew up outside of any sort of institutions. There were no laws that protected us. There were no, so in a way, there were no rules that applied to us, and there were no rules that applied to us. It does take a lot to be oneself. I spent many lonely nights in New York when I first moved there, for like the first couple of years. I was waiting tables. I was just working in my studio and my art practice, and I remember going to sleep and waking up. So this is, in 2008, 2009, being like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here? And a mentor of mine said, you have to do this work because it's important to you. You have to do it even though no one's looking. And that has, that's really informed me. I do it because it's important to me. And then if, I can share my experience, strength, and hope in a way that makes others kind of find some sort of way to better connect to who they are, or how they want to be, or then I'm happy to share that.